Young man called Mindrup. He was beaten so badly as a young child and told that he was worthless and no good that at a very early age he left home. And Mindrup became a brigand, a thief. He would hide behind rocks or in bushes in the mountain passes and accost people and rob them. This was his life. But it so happened that one day the great Tibetan Llama came by, and being what he was, as he passed the rock behind which Mindrup was hiding, he recognized that there was a presence there. And as he walked along the road, he knew that he was being followed. So, at a certain point, Dongma, because this was the master's name, turned around and confronted Mindrup and said, "I'm just an old Lama, and I have nothing for you to steal." Mindrup said, "Well, I can take your life." Dongma said, "That would be worthless to you also." Mindrup said, "I know who you are." And Dongma, unlike the other great Lama masters of his time, who tested their students before they came to come under his tutelage, Dongma was known because he never refused anyone. He said that people could come and learn what they learned. And when they learned what they needed to learn, they would go on their way. So he was known as the master who's never said no. So when Mindrup said, "I know who you are," Dongma said, "Well, you know where you can find me then." And so Dongma made his way up the mountain and left Mindrup scratching his head. Well, several months later, when Dongma was sitting outside his cave, drinking butter tea, he saw a man coming up the path and immediately recognized him as the brigand who had accosted him. And Mindrup said, "Well, I'm here to stay." And Dongma said, "Out. Go and learn respect." Mindrup said, "But you never refuse anyone." "Who said?" Said Dongma, "Go." And so, with anger, Mindrup turned around to go back down the path again when Dongma called him, "Wait a minute." Mindrup thought, he's changed his mind. But Dongma just gave him a piece of bread to eat on the way. And Mindrup, taking it angrily, threw it on the ground, stomped on it. Dongma said, "Why are you stepping on so many people?" "What do you mean, people?" said Mindrup. "Well, that seed had to be planted, it had to be harvested, it had to be reaped, it had to be ground, it had to be made into bread. I'll remember that next time I steal some," said Mindrup, stomped off on his way. But then, just as he was going down the path, Dongma said, "Bring me back something you've stolen." So, of course, Mindrup went off, still scratching his head. But a few months later, he came up the path again, and there was Dongma sitting outside his cave, drinking buttered tea. And he greeted Mindrup and said, "Come, come, have some buttered tea." But the buttered tea was served by a young boy. And when Mindrup saw the young boy, a flicker of recognition was there, but the young boy looked at him and recognized him immediately, but served him the buttered tea. And Dongma said, "Yes, this young boy came a little while ago. He was thrown out of his house after being beaten and abused by his father and told that he was useless and to get out. And he was crying by the side of the road when a traveler came by and told him that everything came from a seed and was therefore part of the whole and made the bread of life. And so he came here." But then Dongma said, "What have you brought me that you stole?" Mindrup said, "I haven't got anything." "Oh," said Dongma. "Yes," said Mindrup. "I started to listen to people. And when I heard of their struggles of their life and recognized that if I stole from them, that it would bring hardship to them in their future, I couldn't steal anymore. I began to listen." And Dongma said, "Well, you don't look as though you've starved." And Mindrup said, "Yes, it was strange, because when I listened, it seemed that people just gave to me the things that I would normally have stolen. But I'm confused." "Oh," said Dongma, "well, go now and give." So again, Mindrup went off, scratching his head. And Dongma said, "Come back after 2 moons have passed." So after the 2 moons had passed, Mindrup came back to Dongma, and Dongma asked him, "Well, what has transpired for you?" And Mindrup said, "It's very hard when you have nothing to give and you're told to give." "Oh," said Dongma, "well, what happened? It looked like you didn't starve, or you look rested." And so Mindrup told him his experiences of giving and taking, and the nature when he gave, he got in return. And Dongma looked at him and said, "Well, where is your satchel? "Oh," said Mindrup, "I gave it away." "Oh," but Mindrup said, I'm very confused. Giving and taking. I don't understand it. I have nothing." "Oh," said Dongma, "well, your first student is doing very well." "What do you mean, my first student?" Dongma said, "Well, this young man who you sent." "I didn't send him," said Mindrup. "He came by himself." "Oh," said Dongma. Well, Mindrup said, "You said you were going to teach me." "Oh, I didn't tell you I was going to teach you," said Dongma. Well, I need to learn meditation." "Oh," said Dongma, "you're a very stubborn man." Well, Dongma said, "I'm going off to a high mountain cave higher in the mountains." He said, all right, you can come. But when you come, you bring me a swatch of nettles. But you must not sting yourself with those nettles. And do be careful when you're crossing the rope bridge. It's very wonky. So Mindrup was thinking about this. He still had this inside of himself, this frustration. What is he getting at? What is he getting at? But he went off, and some time later he had to plan to gather the nettles. And so he did. He went around to find the best place where he could find the nettles. And when he did, he took off the last of his ragged garments, wrapped them round his hands, and plucked the nettles, being careful not to sting himself. And then he set out on his way, carefully, completely and utterly concentrated on not stinging himself or dropping these nettles. And so he walked until he came to the rope bridge, which swayed with the wind. And then he stepped out onto the bridge, concentrating completely on the bundle he held in his hands until he crossed the bridge, and there he could see the cave in which Dongma had taken up residence. As he approached, Dongma called, "Oh, how is the journey? How is it? Come, come." But Mindrup was totally and absolutely concentrated on his nettles until he came in front of Dongma and carefully placed the nettles down in front of him. Dongma said, "Well, how was the journey? Were you hungry? Were you thirsty?" "I don't remember," says Mindrup. "Well, how did you go crossing the rope bridge?" "Oh, rope bridge? What rope bridge was that?" said Mindrup. And so Mindrup said to Dongma, "Well, now, will you teach me?" Dongma said, "Well, you've learned what you needed to learn. But if you want to find me, you'll find me." What does this story tell us about the nature of anger? What's our experience? That fire that we had in our belly. What's your experience of the nature of anger and where we are now? You mean I have to tell more stories? There are so many. Each of us have our own story. Our story of transformation. Would we be here without the fire in our belly? Would we be in the place where we can say nothing is what it seems and not judge others when they display that fire in whatever form it takes? What's the nature of anger? Thank you.